However that is for you, supported in your seat. Eyes closed or not, as you feel guided. And know this truth. I am a sacred vessel for love to flow through. I cherish the companions Spirit has given me for both my inner and my outer life. A precious child lives in me, full of innocence and possibility. We all have that child. I enfold my inner child in arms of sacred love. I remember the divinity that resides within me, and I feel grateful. Within me is a wounded one. I draw on my inner divinity, and I claim life to manifest as wholeness for that beloved part of me. Within me is a mischievous, zany prankster bubbling with laughter, and I welcome the zeal, the enthusiasm, and the joy that this one brings. The spirit of universal love moves through me, to me, and out from me in all my connections. In every relationship, the heart of Spirit fills my heart with loving grace. I count my friendships as valued jewels. The hearts of my friends are my diamonds, my emeralds and rubies, sapphires and pearls. And I feel so blessed in those relationships. The unique gems of their personalities are their own divine spark. I cherish each for its beauty and its richness. I just breathe this in the silence for a moment. I am a sacred vessel for love to flow through. So it is, and so I claim it. And when you're ready, you can bring all of those relationships, all of those children and those eternal beings that are part of our being, and join all of these outside friends in the room with us when you're ready. Wow. Many of you know that we were doing our prayer team training yesterday. So that's yet another one of my families. And we had, oh man, it was intense. We were here from 9 until 2:30. We actually stopped our training, and then Manuela did her, so she was here forever. So Manuela did the sound healing, so those of us who could stay and get benefit of that, it was just, so much. So this month, we are exploring the universal family. And I have downloaded, I don't know how many, lots and lots of podcasts from Unity Online back in the day. And one of my favorites was Eric Butterworth. So I got lots of Eric Butterworth talks available on my phone. My attention was drawn to one. Do you remember Eric Butterworth? He was a much loved teacher of the mid to late 20th century New Thought and Unity, and he's probably best remembered for Discover the Power Within You, but he wrote, and I think we're going to do one of his books in the fall. So you'll get to know him even better. So anyway, I was drawn to one of his talks entitled, Unfolding the Real You. Well, that worked for me, family, right? This could have come any time from the mid-70s until the late 1990s. And in this talk, he describes the many, many selves that live within our skin with us. Well, I thought, this is a family relationship worth looking at. So here's what Eric had to say. It has always seemed to me that the purpose of the religious experience and of religious study is to help individuals to know themselves, to become integrated with the transcendent flow of inner guidance and light and power and love. He says his goal is to help you realize a deeper awareness of your own innateness, to release your imprisoned splendor. He loved to use that phrase. He used it in a lot more than one talk. And then he shares, he says, the fundamental premise, which is the basic theme song of my whole approach, that every individual contains within himself a wholeness, a divinity, which is ever seeking to express itself, but which often is frustrated and creating a frustration of potentiality, which is at the heart and root of emotional problems, mental disturbances, moral elaborations, and certainly all the many physical ills that so many of us know too much about. Butterworth shares one of his favorite poems that really speaks to our conundrum of all these inner beings in us. It says, within my earthly temple there's a crowd. There's one of us that's humble, and there's one that's proud. There's one who's broken-hearted for his sins, and there's one who, unrepentant, sits and grins. There's one who loves his neighbor as himself, and one who cares for not but fame and self. from which perplexing care I would be free if I could just determine which is me. Yeah. So he goes on to talk about our subpersonalities. The green-eyed monster, the scared kid, the perfectionist, the mystic, and on and on. So the first family we really need to know is the one that lives in our own skin. Butterworth says, our first quest is to know ourselves, we said this already, to become integrated in the transcendent flow of inner guidance which is always there, and light and power and love. Well, it's not an easy task, is it? How many personalities do you have skittering around in your brain? Well, lately I've taken on a bit of what Butterworth called the crusader subpersonality. This is the character who he's trying to help people, even if it means intruding on their rights and their personal domain. Well, my niece is going through a rocky patch right now, changing her relationship with her estranged husband. She's getting a divorce, okay? And it's so easy for my head to get into that and to, I know what she should be doing. I could give her the best advice ever. So recently, I know how to fix her, and that was going around in my head. So recently, I was noodling around doing my morning routine, noodling in the pool. My mind is wandering, and I'm thinking, I'm just ruminating over what Lynette should be doing. You see, I was shooting on her. And then my higher self kicked in, and it said, it's none of your business. She is on her own path. She's a big girl, and she can figure it out. Is this how you really want to invest your thoughts? And I said, no. Let me reconsider how to direct my thinking. Did you know we can do that? So I did. I refocused. I have soft music playing while I'm noodling in the pool. So I refocused on that music, hearing the notes, hearing the flow, and how delicious that water felt as I noodled around and it's flowing all around me. I brought my attention back to the birds and the trees that surround my pool. I got out of the what-ifs of a possible future and back into the present moment. I relocated to my now moment, and I got to tell you, I could feel the vibration change. So can you sense the difference in that distortion of the crusader who's out there trying to fix everybody, and the peace that we get when we claim our higher consciousness and go to that still space inside? I have a spiritual practice that helps with that. You wouldn't have guessed that, having heard me before. So, I do have a spiritual practice that helps with that. And for me, it's about developing that relationship with myself. And it's about claiming again and again and again wholeness. That is my true nature. We are always seeking our highest expression of wholeness. And what do we mean by wholeness? This is what Linda Martella Whitsett and daughter Alicia say in This Life Is Yours, which I recommend, by the way. Wholeness is the original and absolute you. The you that is ever evolving, pure potential and infinite possibility, both human and divine. She says, wholeness is a mind-blowing concept. It's big. It means there is only one mind. Your consciousness and my consciousness are within that. We are one consciousness. So what, you may ask, is the spiritual practice I use to call myself back into wholeness? It is the practice of self-awareness. You've heard me talk about that before. Self-awareness is our ability to turn our attention inward and explore our inner worlds. With self-awareness in the moment, we can consciously choose whether to swim against the tide or go with the flow. Just so you don't forget, we are still human, and sometimes we just want to be in the anger. We want to feel the resistance in a situation. We want to be the boss. Okay? I mean, look at Jonah in the Hebrew Bible. Remember his story? God says to Jonah, Jonah, I need you to go to Nineveh and tell the people about me. I need you to be speaking for me. And Jonah did not want to go. He said, well, God, I don't think that's for me. I'm not feeling it. And he, he kept making his excuses. And so finally, he got on a ship heading in the other direction. Well, we know what happened to Jonah. He got swallowed by a big fish, maybe a whale. And he's in this fish for a while until the fish says, I've had it with Jonah, and spits him out in Nineveh. Yeah. So he finally got it. Talk about a cosmic 2x4. Okay. He finally got it. It is so much easier to lean in and allow grace to carry us to our next best experience. So I had a Jonah experience recently. I forgot for a time who I really am. I had all my buttons out here so anybody could punch them. And they did. And you see, that's a choice too. I'm the one who put my buttons on display. I chose who got to push my buttons. We give our power away. So I got to that place. I perceived there's something outside of me doing this thing to me. It's not my fault. It's their fault. So I just spent a few days in my angst. I created a couple of days of just real suffering for myself. And thank goodness for spiritual practice, because even in the suffering, I still get up, I still do my walk, I read my daily word, so I still did those things. So, man, between walking and swimming and nature and inspirational reading, prayer, meditation, journaling, a little help from my friends, my family of choice. Overnight, I flipped a switch. I saw the situation from a different perspective, from a perspective of love rather than fear. I remembered my humanity with my divinity. You see, that's the value of self-awareness, our ability to turn our attention inward to explore our inner worlds. When we engage curiosity, looking within, we can learn a lot about ourselves and we can see things differently. Curiosity can be a tool we use to enrich those connections, inside and outside. From Science of Mind on July 6th. When we get stuck in challenging situations, we can get curious and ask questions. If there are questions like, why is this happening to me? How do I get out of this mess as fast as I can? Can I just forget about this and move on? We're just going to dig ourselves deeper into victim consciousness. To move forward, we need to take our power back and ask the courageous questions, full of authentic curiosity. How does this situation or person serve me? There's something in this for me if I'm here. How does it serve me? How might I find peace in this situation? Who might I become when I am triumphant over this condition? And here's the biggie. What part do I play in this story? It goes on to say, choosing the open energy of curiosity aligns us with our creative energy and ability to move forward in life, despite negative or uncomfortable conditions. So there's another spiritual practice to help us, as Butterworth says, to know ourselves, to become integrated with the transcendent flow of inner guidance and light and power and love. That is the practice of self-care. So part of the curriculum in Skin School is to learn and practice the care and feeding, physical, emotional, spiritual, of our earthly temple. So during my time of suffering, the first thing I did was to go into victim mode. I focused outside. It was what someone else did that created my dis-ease. It was all their fault. Been there? I did my fair share of moaning and groaning, my Jonah experience again, until I'd had enough. My curiosity did its thing, and I began to retract those buttons and engage self-care. I confided in a prayer partner. I got some spiritual counseling. I began to own what is mine in this situation. I asked questions and began the process of release. And we all know what happens when we release. It opens us for the new. With self-awareness, the next time I got triggered, and you know the signs, you know when you're triggered, you get tight in your body. I find myself holding my breath. Got your emotional defenses on high alert. So the first thing I did was to take a good deep breath and remove myself from that environment. I removed myself from that field of energy that I was buying in as a victim. I needed to regroup, to reground myself. So I made a choice to see the situation differently and discern how I want to be. How do I want to show up? In fear with my hackles up, or in love with my heart open? My point here is that we all have a plethora of characters rattling around in our heads. And we get to choose which ones we foster a relationship with. The devil, who made us do it, or the angels of intuitive wisdom that speak to our heart. We're always a choice. In unity, We're gifted with understanding that we have tools we can use to enhance and enrich our spiritual journey. And that all-important relationship of self with self, which is our true nature, wholeness, individualized expressions of love. Oh, and it is adventure, isn't it? Yeah. So, continuing in this adventure, I'd like to close with a brief meditation, as requested, kind of sort of demanded, by our prayer team yesterday. You don't need to close your eyes. You don't need to do anything. But look at me and follow my cues as I invite my friends in mirth to stand, and everybody follows the cue, okay? Oh, come on, you can't help it. Can't help it, can you? Okay, you've just had your first experience at Unity Church of Peace of a laughing meditation. And my friends, we are sacred vessels for love and joy to flow through us. So thank you so much for having me today.
This is the time in our service when we get to give from our good back into this spiritual community. So if you're online, welcome to the Zoomers today. We appreciate your gifts and your sharing into the PayPal or the Breeze link. We're grateful for you. And if those of you who are giving online and are giving automatically, we're grateful for you. There's cards in the back that you can put in the offering plate. The rest of us that have our tithes with us, we say this together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, that this is so.